Hello everyone, welcome to another motovlog on my channel. My name is Marshall3498, and on today's motovlog is going to be motorcycle related as usual, and that topic is going to be about horsepower and how much do you need and how much is too much, and is there so much thing, I guess kind of all in the same thing, as too much horsepower. Short answer of the last one, too much horsepower, is that a thing? Yes, it can be a thing. You don't need 300 horsepower on a bike like a MotoGP bike to be fun. You really don't even need 100, to be honest. About 55 or 60, maybe 75, like a lot of the 700 Yamaha Parallel Twins make, is enough. The current bike that I'm riding is a 2023 KTM 890 Adventure, and it makes like 107 on a bike that only weighs like 470 pounds. And it really feels like, on the KTM anyway, because the gas tank designed down low, it really feels more like low 400s, and it feels like an awful lot of power on this. And that's not even half throttle, because I have to watch for idiots like that who think they can stop last second at the stop sign. That's why you always watch when you're around a lot of cars like that one, over the yellow line. I don't need my whole lane. It's okay. You could come over here some. I'll share with you. Idiots. Anyways, but you know, motorcycling in general as a whole is fun, no matter how much power it has, is what I'm trying to get at. You know, motorcycles are meant to, at least in America anyway, yes, they're a form of transportation, but let's be honest, they're really a toy and more of a hobby, more than they're like overseas and in Europe and England and stuff. A lot of people don't even have cars. They have motorcycles, and you know, they go to the grocery store and they get a day or two's worth of groceries in their saddlebags and panniers, if some people call it that, who are watching this. And you know, that's all they need for a day or so, and they do that every couple days, and you know, that's how they get around the whole grocery thing. Like all of us in the U.S., yes, let's be honest, if you've got a top box or something like this bike has, a pretty decent sized hard one, you can get a decent amount of groceries in it. But you're not going to get a whole week's worth of groceries, like, you know, a big thing of water and soft drinks and all that stuff. You're not going to get a whole week or two's worth of groceries on a motorcycle. You might get it by with enough for, say, a day or so, especially if you live alone. But you're not going to get much more than that in it at one time, if I'm being honest. But like I said, you know, even beginner motorcycles that have, say, you know, 35 horsepower are still fun. They're still a motorcycle. Yes, they're not, you know, quite as entertaining as a bike with more power, but they're still fun overall. And you know, those guys who ride MotoGP bikes that make like 300 horsepower, those guys have been riding for 20 years, since they were 4 or 5 years old. And, you know, that's their profession. That's what they do every day. They train all week long. They ride at multiple racetracks throughout the country, doing 230 miles an hour on a straightaway. I don't know what these guys are waving at, but okay. And, you know, that's their job and their lifestyle. And that's, you know, their world elite athletes in motorcycling, and you know, that's the reason they can handle bikes like that. And with those normal people, you know, let's be honest, most people are just as fast on a 600 sports bike at a track day than they are 1,000. Why? Because they can use a lot more of what that 600 can give them. The 1,000, it's so edgy, and it's a lot of power, and it's kind of, you know, they're at the verge of being able to harness it, but not quite. So it's kind of like, you know, they're timid about it. So they're not going to use all the power it has on tap, because it's a lot to handle. Unless you're at a racetrack, you know, with a lot of straightaways, several of them, you're not going to use all that, you know, power of even a 1,000cc bike. Sorry, I felt like I was getting rain in my visor. It is kind of dark over in my area today, so kind of threading the needle of not getting rained on, but whatever. motorcycles are always fun, is what I'm trying to get at, no matter how much power they have. Ones with more power are more fun, yes, I'll admit that, but they're not, the end all be all on what you have to have. Bikes with less power are probably really more fun, even on the street, because they're not as intimidating and stuff like that. Like my 2016 Yamaha FJR 1300. Yes, it's a big sport touring bike. The sport being first, so naturally it's going to have a lot of power. But 135 horsepower on a bike that weighs 650 pounds, that's a lot. It may not seem like a lot for those. What in the world is on the road here? Sorry, we got crap everywhere and mud all on the road and everything else. 135 horsepower may not seem like a lot to you've ridden a bike with that much power, even though it is pretty heavy versus a bike that's less than 400 pounds. But it's still a lot, and it's meant to carry two people and lots of luggage and all that stuff, and have ample amount of power to spare. That's kind of its thing. It's not really meant to have that much power for you to ride it like a sports bike, but you can, and that's kind of what has that much power. It's the sport touring in the name. This bike that I'm riding, like I said, my KTM, is 107 horsepower, and it's still a lot. Those of you on the street who at least ride in the speed limit are never going to use, you're probably going to use half of what the bike's capable of power-wise. And that's about all you really need for the street, really. As long as you can keep up with traffic and, accelerate from danger, that's all the power you need. You don't need, the end all be all. Having more power is not always a good thing, because sometimes it'll make you ride faster, and we'll say breaking the law, we'll say that more often, and that might lead to a little country road like this where you're just getting it and it's one of your favorite roads, and you come up over a little corner around the curve and there's some guy pulling out with his truck and his camper or boat behind him, and they're blocking the entire road. And if you were going the speed limit, it might not be a problem, but if you're doing well above the speed limit, we'll say, it might, as cycle cruisers say, set you up for a real messed up day. And that, nobody wants to get hurt riding a motorcycle. We all know the risk of riding a motorcycle, and that's kind of part of the thrill, I think. But you also don't want to, end up in a wheelchair or paralyzed the rest of your life. That's the last thing we want. And that's the thing, I hate to say kind of morbid, but that's the truth. That it can really happen, and you have to be aware of that and accept those consequences. So you should always usually ride in your means, and that means, just respecting it, and don't, take it to the ragged edge, and just enjoy it, but don't ride like, you're Valentina Rossi or Marc Marquez on the street. That's all I'm saying. You don't have to ride that fast to have fun. That's the short answer, what I'm trying to get at. So, if you've not already done so, guys, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think about today's motor vlog. Ride safe, and turn the subscribe bell on as I upload every week. Ride safe. We'll see you on the next one. See ya.